In this episode of the How to Get on Reality TV podcast, we talk about when is the absolute best time to submit your audition video. Welcome to the How to Get on Reality TV podcast with Dan Giesling, where I answer your reality TV casting questions once a week. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the How to Get on Reality TV podcast. My name's Dan Giesling. I'm excited as always to be here answering your reality TV casting questions once a week, every Monday. We have a good, interesting, and frequently asked question to answer today. And I'm sure we've addressed it in a previous podcast, but we're going to dig a little deeper on this one. Excuse me. Before we get into that, I want to remind you guys that there's an email list that you can join to get one additional tip from every podcast. So what happens is every Tuesday, the day after I release a show, I send an email out with a link to the podcast in case you miss it, and one additional tip you won't actually hear on the podcast. It's just a small little thing I like to do to thank those people and to help those people that have signed up for the email list. You can check that out by going to howtogetonrealitytv.net/list. It's one email a week, and it'll explain something a little more in depth that we don't get into the show, or a little different take and a little different answer to whatever question that we get that week. So if you haven't signed up for the list, I encourage you to do so by going to howtogetonrealitytv.net/list and find out one extra tip even off this question. So this week we have a great question from Matthew, which is all about finding out the best time to actually submit your audition video.
Hey Dan, my name is Matthew, huge fan of yours on Big Brother and an even bigger fan of the podcast. Thank you so much for all the resources you put out there for people like me just trying to get on reality TV and have some fun with it. I really appreciate it. My question today is about when you should send in your casting tape for Big Brother, but really in general also. On the website for the casting agency and on the other resources, it says to send your tape in as soon as possible. But I wanted your feedback on that because I'm worried that if you send in your tape right when the tapes are available, you won't know when to expect a call back, or you'll be too early in the process to be really considered and you won't get a call back. I've also paid attention to things that Robin Cass is up to in her casting team. When you look on Twitter and stuff like that, you see she's on vacation this day or doing something this week, and I just don't want to end up in a big pile of videos she has to look at when she gets back, and maybe because of the sheer volume of those videos, end up being overlooked out of fatigue. So I just wanted to ask if you had any strategy or if you had any tips on that, or if I'm just over strategizing it and I should send it in as soon as I'm finished with it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your help and look forward to hearing back from you.
Hey Matt, first off, thank you so much for the kind words. And second, thank you so much for submitting this question. A lot of people email me this question. I say get it a few times a month saying, hey Dan, when is the best possible time to submit an audition video? And before I give you the answer to that, I want to break down what Matthew really got into. He said he went to the website and they told him to submit it ASAP, so as soon as possible. And my answer to this question is you should have submitted your audition video 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. The longer you wait, in my opinion, the worse off it is for you. And here's why. So say that you happen to be someone in your mid to late 20s who is a school teacher in the Midwest. And you have a great story, and maybe you have an average look, but you submit your tape early or your video early, and you pique the interest of the people in casting. Now, this is something we need to talk about because you had said in your question, that you track some of the people in casting on social media. You see if they're on vacation, you see what they're up to. And maybe in a previous life, people would say, oh, that's creepy. Well, now that's the norm that we live in. So you're gaining additional information, whether it's good or bad information. We're going to talk about in a second, but you're gaining information to get an idea of, okay, hey, when are these things actually going to be looked at? And you said, hey, I don't want the head person in casting to come back from their vacation and have my audition video get lost in a stack, and I believe you said in a pool of others. Well, you're assuming that the head of casting reviews every tape individually, and that's not always the case. More often than not, most casting companies have multiple people working on the cast for a show, and there's different tiers of people in casting. And for those of you guys that have got the guide that I wrote, there's an actual visual representation of that. But there's people that they look at the videos and they sift through them and then they pass them up the chain. So it's not necessarily how you think, where one casting person is watching hundreds and hundreds of audition videos. It's one casting person, the head of casting, looking at the best of the best. So it's not something that you necessarily need to concern yourself with. I think that, you're worried, which shows that you're concerned and that you're passionate about getting cast in the show, but I don't think your energy is focused in the right way. But anyways, back to what I was initially saying is, so say you're a school teacher in the Midwest with average looks and you have a great story and you apply really early, so you're on their radar, and then all of a sudden, maybe they start to see you and like, okay, this person is someone we definitely want to get to know more, maybe on a semifinal or even potentially on a finals basis. But then all of a sudden, 1 week before casting is closed, another teacher in the Midwest pops up that may be exactly the same or very similar to you. Sure, they may give you both semifinal interviews, but it's kind of like you're trying to derail someone that's already in position, if that makes sense. This is my theory on it. The earlier you can get in the process, the better. The earlier you can get on the radar, the better, because you may be so good or so compelling of a character that they start to even think of other people that can play off you. You've heard multiple people say that a cast for a show is like a puzzle, and there's different prongs and different pieces. Some people you connect with in a positive way, some people that you connect with in a negative way. Both of those connections are needed to create a compelling cast, and so you have some conflict and some people will be naturally drawn to each other. But bottom line, to answer your question, is you need to be focused on your story and creating the best audition video possible. Not to mention, you should have already, if you're saying, hey, should I wait to submit my audition video? No, you need to send it in as soon as possible. And I hope this, this not only helps Matthew, but helps some other people that are on the fence and thinking like, oh, I'm going to wait till the last second and slip it in and really catch your eye. No, don't do that. Just get yourself in a position to be successful. And I know you said you're worried about like the length of time and you're not sure when you're going to get a call back. Those are all things out of your control anyways. There are different things you can do to predict or at least narrow down a window of when you think you're going to get a call back. But even so, the only thing in your control is your audition video, not an open casting call, which that's a whole different story. You guys know I don't like open casting calls, but the audition video is completely in your control. You can control everything, including when you apply. So, my best advice to you, Matthew, is you should have applied 5 minutes ago, but I know that's not realistic for you, but get on it. Don't wait till the last second, because that's going to give you the best possible chance to be successful. So Matthew, I hope this helped answer your question and helped everyone else who was thinking about this question. I hope it helped you guys as well. As a small thank you, Matthew, we're going to send you a free digital copy of my story, How a Normal Guy Got Cast on Reality TV. And if you want your question answered on the podcast, just like Matthew, you can go to howtogetonrealitytv.net/ask. There's a mobile app. You can do it right from your web browser. You can do it from your phone, and just leave a voicemail question. And the more detailed, the better. If you want to share part of your story, part of your audition video, part of your audition story, and you want me to critique it, I will do that as well through the howtogetonrealitytv.net/ask. I think those make for some of the best questions, excuse me, in particular ones in the past. But Matthew, thank you so much for submitting your question, and I hope this helped answer your reality TV casting problem. All right, so that wraps up another episode of the How to Get on Reality TV podcast. We had a very frequently asked question. I hope it helped a lot of people. I hope it kind of stoked your fires to get going right away. And as a quick reminder, those guys that have not signed up for the email list and you want to get one extra additional tip answering this question about when to apply one step further, you can check it out by going to howtogetonrealitytv.net/list. You get one email a week with the podcast reminder and this additional tip. Usually it's sent out on Tuesdays. And so you can check that out by going to howtogetonrealitytv.net/list. I want to thank everyone for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's podcast, and don't wait to apply for the show that you want to get cast on. There's no time like the present to put yourself in a position to be successful. I will see you guys next Monday. Have a great one, and best of luck on your casting journey. Later, guys.